What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Love and Rice podcast with your host, Aunt Ma.
I'm your other host, Christina.
And if you guys are new to this podcast, make sure to subscribe. We are on YouTube and all podcast platforms. We're talking about Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Google, and also on TikTok and
Instagram.
Instagram. I almost forgot. There's so many damn platforms.
We're everywhere.
It's crazy, man. So thank you guys for supporting us throughout all those platforms. If you haven't rated us on Spotify, please do give us a rating, get us in this algorithm, get us in the charts. We're here almost to 40 episodes, which is how many weeks are in a year? 52?
Yeah.
Almost 1 year of this podcast.
Yeah.
That's insane. So congratulations for making it this far.
Yeah. It didn't even seem like it's been almost a year. So
yeah, it's crazy. We've been pretty consistent doing this every week and having listeners, every week. And thank you guys. So on this episode, we are going to talk about something that most parents don't talk about, or if they do, it's a little bit taboo. Or it becomes really, really negative, right?
Yeah, it might be like a controversial topic, right?
So what we're talking about is what is the best and worst part about having kids?
I feel the controversial part of that is that nowadays, I think people are more expressive of like talking about the struggles of being a parent.
Yes.
But then you will have people who will respond to that and be like, well, you chose to have kids, suck it up, right? And that's what makes it kind of like a tricky subject to talk about.
I think what I want to talk about today is everyone knows the struggles of being a parent, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about the things that no one talks about outside of that, So, the very first question I have for you is, what's the worst part about having kids? And this is your most common thing, right? Everyone always asks you that when they're trying to have kids. They're like, they're trying to figure it out. Do they want kids or not? And so what's the worst part for you?
I would say the worst part, and I don't mean it in such a negative way, saying it as the worst part, but one of the most challenging parts about being a parent is that you have to be pretty much completely selfless. So, before you had kids, you're living this like life that you kind of take for granted of being able to just like focus on yourself, do all these things that you want to for yourself, right? Yeah. And now that you have kids, like everything gets pushed to the side of what you want to do, and your main focus ends up being on the kids. And I feel like it's something that naturally happens. But at the same time, when you think back about it, you're like, oh, I wish I could do this. And I want to do this. But I'm too tired at the end of the day from watching the kids and stuff like that. And it's not like I hate having to put them first and to take care of them and all of that. But it's more so of like not being able to have the energy to fulfill the things that I would want to do for myself.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that is a personal thing, right? Everyone says, oh my gosh, by the time I'm done with the day, I have no more energy to do anything for myself, right? Or I don't have my me time and stuff like that. And you can really, if you're the type of person who has high energy or they're a high functioning person, they can make the time to do those things, right? Even though they have the responsibility of the kids and take care of them all day, they will, at the end of the night, find the things that they need to do. But most parents are just like, man, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep, and then repeat the next day. So that's why you never have time for yourself when you're taking care of the kids so much. But you can actually make that time. It's just cost you, I don't know, maybe sleep or whatever it is, right? But there are ways to do what you want.
Yeah, usually they'll just say to always make time for it. But I think I've always been like a person that gets so easily tired. And I don't know what it is. Like I've talked to doctors and stuff like that about these issues that I've had. And I think over time, like I would get more tired.
Why is that?
I don't know. I mean, I think that's just how it is when you have kids. But at the same time, I think if you go into like having kids and always being like a tired person, it gets harder. And, I've gone to the doctors. They would check like to see if I was anemic. They would check my iron levels. They were low at one point, but I was never really anemic. They would check to see if I had like thyroid issues because those are a lot of things that lead to you being like overly tired and stuff like that. And I think also like for women, we get so emotionally and mentally stimulated stimulated.
Yeah.
So it's like everything that happens throughout the day, like our mind is just constantly running, it
Yeah.
never stops. So I think that just kind of all adds on to it. So, yeah, like,
So, so yeah, I mean, so basically, the worst part about having kids is all the self stuff, right?
yeah.
Right. It's hard for you to function. You can't do what you want for most of the day.
Yeah.
And that is definitely the worst part about having kids.
And I think the self part too is also like when you want to focus on like the relationship, or if you want to try to spend more time with family or friends, like you have it in your mind that you want to do it, but you're just so exhausted from everything else that you're doing for the kids.
Yeah.
So you're just like, it's cool. I'll just do it another time because I'm just too tired.
That's definitely the worst part, And this next question is way different. And the first question I asked was, what is the worst part about having kids? Now, what do you hate the most about having kids?
What do I hate the most?
Yeah. That's two totally different questions.
Yeah. I think it's maybe just like the whole being able to be more easygoing about doing things, or just the flexibility of being able to just go, oh, like I see this event that's coming up. Oh, our friends want us to go hang out, or there's a function that we want to go to, or like an event or something, right? Before you're just like, oh man, let's go. You want to go? Okay, let's get these tickets and go. But now it's like you have to plan things ahead of time. And I feel like when we go out and do stuff, we have to like plan it like weeks ahead or something.
I mean, we still do those things. We just pick and choose, right? So like if there's places that kids are not allowed to go, that's already out of the question, right?
Yeah.
But the events that involve kids or that we can bring kids to, we do, and it's nice to bring them,
Right.
And so for me, what I hate the most about having kids is that there is not enough time in the day to be with the kids. And what I mean by that is, when we're home all day with the kids, sometimes I have to spend 6 hours working, editing, going to show homes, whatever it is. So I'm not with the kids.
Right.
I hate that part. I want to be with the kids, right? And so I want to be able to watch TV with them, play games with them, build stuff, like, I don't know, go in the backyard and build a basketball court and now teach them how to play basketball and do all these things. So like not having enough time in the day to do these things is what I hate the most about having kids. It's kind of like a catch-22, right? A lot of times people try to get away from the kids, but I feel like there's not enough time in the day, and your kids are only so small for so long, and everyone tells us, enjoy this time with your kids. They grow up so fast, and I think that is the worst part about having kids is the first, I don't know, maybe 10 years of their life is like the most enjoyable. And then from 10 to 18, you're really trying to help them become a man and a woman, so things are different, which is also very enjoyable. But the little kid part, like, that's just so fun.
Yeah, the carefree part where you can just like watch them grow up and them wanting to be with you all the time. And then you're talking about when they turn 10 years old and up, and what we've heard is that like they just don't want to hang out anymore.
They become teenagers.
They're in their room and they want to do their own thing, or they might want to start using the phone and talking to friends and stuff like that, or hanging out.
And that is what I hate the most about having kids, is that part of the sadness that you feel when you're like, man, I spent every day with them, and now all of a sudden they don't want to be with me. Like, that's gonna suck when that happens.
Yeah, and just thinking back to like, I feel like our parents used to be able to just sit around with us and watch TV with us all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like because there weren't that many distractions. But now, like, even for us when we're trying to watch a movie, or like we promise the kids we'll watch something with them, we take shifts, right? Because we're like, okay, well, you can watch the first half while I go take a bath or something, and then when I'm done, then we can switch, and then we'll deal with the kids after. So it's like I don't remember the last time where we all just sat down, where we were relaxed and just were able to watch a movie without thinking like, okay, well, this needs to get done. We got to do this first and do this before we have to put them to bed, right?
It's crazy because it's like we plan a day to go out to a movie theater sometimes instead of watching at home.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's go take the kids to a movie. They're going to love it. And then we go watch the movie, and Enzo's like getting up out of his seat, switching seats. He's talking,
he's 4,
yelling,
by the way.
and like you're like, oh wait, this was such a bad idea. So it's like, I don't know, you love it, and at the same time, you're like, man, this is definitely the worst part.
Yeah, I think it's like always just hoping that it will be a smooth trip or adventure that we go on, and then things
Yeah.
come up and you're like, oh man, like
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
more tiring and stressful than it should be.
I think one of the other parts about, the kids and being the worst part about it is that, like I said, it was a catch-22, right? Like, not being able to spend enough time with your kids suck. But then on the other hand, when they are with you all the time, that also sucks. Especially for you as a mom, right? Because they follow you everywhere. You're like, it's like all the little ducklings, and like wherever you go, they're
Yep.
like trailing behind you.
Yep, like the moment I try to get up to go use the restroom, as soon as I close the door, I hear footsteps coming and I have to lock it right away. And then as soon as I lock it, you hear them like rattling on the doorknob and stuff. And I'm like, how come you guys do this to me all the time, but you don't do it to dad? Like, you guys completely just leave him alone. And they're like, I don't know.
Because you let them come in sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it always has to do with the mom guilt too, because it's like I love spending time with them. And yes, at the same time, I would like my own time. And when I do get my own time, I feel guilty after a while because I'm like, oh, dang, I've been away from them for a while now, even
Yeah.
if it's like 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, well, sounds like they need something, so I'll just open the door and let them come in.
How does it feel as a mom when you are using the bathroom and they're trying to come in?
Well, it depends because it depends on what they're asking for and why they want to come in.
Yeah.
But for the most part now, I'm just like, no, like I'm using the bathroom and I'm also trying to teach them boundaries now because
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not normal for you to be in the restroom while someone else is using the restroom. Like it's uncomfortable.
They don't even like it.
Yeah,
Right? So
exactly.
when Leia and Enzo are using the restroom and I go in there, they're like, "Get out, Dad."
And they'll cover themselves and be like, don't look, don't watch me. And I'm like, yeah, same thing for me. Like, you don't like it. So
Right.
this is what we have to let them know to expect because we don't want them to be okay with people going into the restroom when they're using it and vice versa.
But deep down inside, you gotta love the way they come to you all the time.
I do. I mean, it makes me feel very loved and wanted and special. And it lets me know that, like, I'm one of the people that they look up to
Yeah.
and that I'm an example for them. So that's why they push me to try to be a better person, to be more mindful of the things that I do and say.
Yeah.
So that, whatever they're learning and I see it as a result, I'm like, cool, I'm actually doing things right and I'm being a good mom by trying to raise them the right way.
So do you think them sticking to you like glue is the worst part about the kids or the best part?
I mean, it's not the worst or the best, but I would say there's good and bad parts of it. So it's like somewhere down the middle. I would say I like it more than I don't.
Yeah, I mean, like, it just makes you feel so good that you have these kids that always want you.
Yeah, like you feel like you're needed, right? Like
Right.
that's your purpose in life.
But at the same time, it's like you gotta teach them. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Sometimes it's a little too much.
Yeah, boundaries. Like don't be so attached to people and be more independent and try to do things more on your own and not to have to rely on people so much.
Sometimes I feel regret when I do that because I try to teach them, like, do your own thing. But then at the same time, when I'm laying in bed at night and they're sleeping, I'm like, damn, you know what? We're literally their only friends right now. Like, we're the only people that they communicate with all day, every day. We are like the person for them,
Pretty much, yeah. We're their role models and the people that they feel the most comfortable with and can go to.
They love us so much, right? So that's why when I'm laying in bed, I'm like, damn, like, we gotta not only be the mom and dads, but try and be their best friend and play with them like a friend.
Yeah, and that's a hard part too, because it's like you try to be their friend, but you also have to try to keep your parental figure so that like it doesn't get confused.
Okay, so here's the hardest part. It's like, okay, when I'm thinking about, okay, the next day I'm gonna try and be her best friend, right? Leia's best friend, and let's go play with her Barbie dollhouse, and I'm going to put my mind in a 6-year-old's head and be her friend and play with her like it's Barbies, right? But then when she starts to do some crazy stuff and like I don't know, destroying her Barbie, stripping all her clothes, messing up the little living room, and things like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. So it's like, it's hard. It's so
Yeah,
hard.
because you're trying not to tell them what to do, but at the same time, you're questioning why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
But then they say that you're supposed to let your kids explore and get creative and to use their imagination. So
Right.
it's like trying to see the positive of that, which is like usually a challenge too when it comes to parenting because you're always trying to see the positive of stuff without being too negative
I mean, you see the
or
mess that
controlling.
they're making, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. But I think the mistake is to stay at the 6-year-old level and just go along with it. And then when that time is up, it's like, all right, let's now be the parent and have them clean up their mess and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe one day we should spend the entire day on their level and do everything with them.
That's hard to do because there's always so many responsibilities that we have to take care of. I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
I mean, like, even if it's just like 4 hours, right? From like playing in their little game room to playing outside, like, I don't know, right?
Oh yeah, like I wouldn't mind being a part of it. But probably I wouldn't probably be as interactive and stuff or like playing like a 6-year-old. But yeah, like I would love to do that. I feel like that's probably one of my better childhood memories, just being able to do all these things and having my parents around, even though they weren't with me directly, they would be in my surrounding areas if I'm like playing
Right.
volleyball outside or tetherball or whatever it is,
Yeah.
just like being able to do those things with them around.
I feel like a 4-man sport would be pretty good with them, right? Like,
Yeah.
just the other day on Amazon, we bought some pickleball rackets.
Did you know that Enzo last night he was having a dream, and he's not feeling well, by the way, and he was so uncomfortable. It was like 4:30 in the morning, and he was just dreaming, right? And we're sleeping on the floor
What was he
together.
dreaming about?
He woke up and he's like, oh, he giggled, right? He's like, oh, mom, I just had a dream about pickleball. And
Really?
I was like, really? You're silly. Yeah,
Why did he even think about that?
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know.
Does he even know what pickleball is?
Maybe because he heard us talking about it. He's seen my parents play it before.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then we went to Walmart, right? And we were trying to look for pickleball stuff. So I think because we were showing it to each other, they pick up on these things and they're like, oh, probably thinking about it. But
that's
they've tried
cool.
playing before with my parents.
yeah. So I mean, I think it's pretty cool if we play with them, even if they don't know the game or they're gonna start to clown around, and it gets frustrating at that moment. But I think we just gotta let them, do it. Because I remember that one time we went miniature golfing with them, and we're like, "Oh, this is so cool. We can teach them," and it became like the worst thing ever.
I wouldn't say it was the worst thing, but it was more of like not. So with
We couldn't play.
Yeah, we couldn't play. And then also because when we're doing the miniature golf, like there are people waiting, there are people going in front of you, and there are people going after you. So I think it was more of the pressure of like, oh gosh, these kids are messing around so much and we can't take our time because there's people waiting for us to go next. And I think it was that pressure of trying to be considerate of everyone else around us. And then we were also with Joe and Hannah,
Yeah.
right? And then they were trying to play too, and when they would try to hit the ball into the hole, the kids would just go and grab it and pick it up, and I'd be like, oh no, like
Yeah.
now they can't play because like the
Well-
kids keep picking up their balls, they're blocking them.
So they knew that they understood the concept of the ball needs to go in the hole.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand that we have to hit the ball continuously into the hole.
Yeah,
right?
and-
And take turns.
And because they were losing
So-
their patience because they couldn't keep getting it in there, so they would just grab it and put it in there, and they started doing that with their own ball, and then they started doing that with Joe and Hannah's balls, and I was
Right.
like,
And all of our
No
balls.
one's gonna
so
play.
now none of us were playing miniature golf. We would just about to swing, and when you're about to swing, Enzo comes up, grabs the ball, and puts it in the hole, and you're like, "Wait, what just happened?"
yeah.
You
So
know?
I think we've learned that if we're gonna do these kind of activities, that we have to do it like within our own space and not with a shared space with other people.
Yeah, I think that's why they have those toys at Walmart and Target where it's like, was it like a gator golf?
Oh, yeah.
And you play with these little toys, the plastic ones, in the backyard 1st, so they understand the fundamentals and concept of the game.
Yeah.
So when you take them out and you pay for these things, it's a little bit easier.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like a love and hate in everything that we do with the kids.
Yeah, and I think it's like that just because we're always like hopeful that it's going to be like a smooth adventure. And then you're like adding all these different variables to it and you're
Right.
like, "Oh, okay. I
So
don't want to do this again."
that miniature golf incident was like a year ago,
Yeah.
and now when we talk about it, it's like the cutest and funniest thing that we've been
Yeah.
through. But at the time, it was so frustrating.
Yeah. And I think Joe and Hannah probably did enjoy themselves, but at the same time I'm like they're probably like, "Oh man, I was really trying to get it into the hole, but I
Right.
couldn't do it."
And the funniest thing is, even though we all went through that whole situation, the next conversation would be like, when do you guys want to go again?
Yeah, and I think the last time that I saw them too, I ran into them and we were just talking about that, and they're like, "Oh, we should go again," and I'm like,
Do you remember what happened?
"Okay," but I feel like the stress is more on the parents though because we're always trying to. Usually, when it's your own kid, you're like, don't do this, don't do that. Like, be considerate of everyone around you." But I think all the other people who are around, they're not thinking like that. They're not as
Yeah.
stressed as we are. So
All right, so let's flip this a bit. Let's talk about all the good stuff now. What is the best part about having kids?
the best part about having kids is that well, I mean there's so many things, so I'm like trying to pinpoint the one thing that I love most. But I think it's just like just as ironic as it sounds, just being around them and like
Yeah.
being able to do all these things with them and just not ever feeling like you're alone.
Yes, I think for me it's having these little people around the house all the time, and when we're going out, is enjoying the little people. I love that part about having kids. Like, I love that throughout the day, I'm like, oh, how cute! Look at his little walk,
Yeah.
or like look at this little guy eating, and it's just that's like I don't know. That's the best part about it. It's so joyful.
Yeah, I don't know how many times in a day where they're doing something cute and I'm like, "Aunt, look, oh, watch them. Oh, Dad's not here. Go show him real quick," And
Yeah.
it's like always stuff like that. So it's like all the little moments and kind of just seeing how they're growing up and just knowing that everything that you're working so hard for and all the time that you're investing into them is actually paying off and that we're actually it's just seeing the result of
Yeah.
everything that we're doing for them.
I think my favorite part is when Enzo and Leia say "daddy." That's definitely one of the most enjoyable parts. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, the crazy thing with that too, it's like before when they were younger, I was always like, it's not mom, it's mommy. But now that they're getting older, I'm like, are we still mommy and daddy, or
For
should we be
now.
mom and dad?
For now, I think it's okay. I think once they
Yeah.
get to middle school is when it changes. But it's cute the first maybe 10 times in the day when they say it, and after the first 10 times, it's like, okay, now what do you want?
Yeah. Because it's like always when we're having a conversation or we're trying to figure things out or like trying to plan something, and it always revolves around doing stuff for the kids. And then it's like, oh, we'll start talking, and then mommy, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh man, like we literally just finally had this like second to be able to try
Yeah.
to talk about something, and then they're like already calling my name. So, yeah, it's just not being able to do normal things.
I think the other thing I enjoy the most about the kids is the random hugs and kisses. Now, when Enzo says, I just want to give you a hug and a kiss, and he'll come and hug me, and you can feel his arms going around me.
Yeah.
And he'll kiss me on my cheek, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. I love this part. And now Leia does that. Like, after I give her a bath and I dry her up and put on her clothes, and then she's like, while I'm drying her, she gives me a kiss on my forehead, on my cheeks, and she goes, "You're the best. Thanks for giving me a bath." and all that
Yeah,
stuff. And
I
I'm
do
like-
see that.
and I love that part.
Did you know that Disneyland has like a rule with the characters where usually when the kids give them hugs,
Yeah.
that they're supposed to hug them until the kids let go?
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would see things about it, and then people started like taking videos to test that theory.
Yeah.
And then you would just see like the characters hugging the kids, and they'll keep just like patting their back until the kid is ready to let go and stuff. So maybe it's like trying to show them like, okay, like you're very important, and yeah, yeah,
That's true. I feel like because we're the parents, we're like, all right, guys, come on, let's go. Like that's enough.
yeah.
And we kind of make them stop first.
Yeah, so it's like you let them have that moment and just let them like.
It's hard because there's a line. You just waited 30 minutes to, take a picture with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I know, true. And sometimes they will rush you because there's the other people on the side that'll rush it. But for the most part, like if there's a character that's just walking around and you happen to see them and the
Yeah.
kid hugs them, like they will usually wait until they're done.
How do we fix that issue? The sense of urgency as a parent to not disturb others is like we always try to think about other people, right? But how do we change that and just be like, just let them enjoy the moment?
Yeah, I think that
And
goes
us.
back to childhood trauma because that's how we've been raised as well, especially being in an Asian household. Like it was always about you're thinking about your surroundings and not wanting to like embarrass yourself or your parents or your family and being
Yeah.
more cautious about what you're doing because you don't want people to say or think things about you, right? So it's always worrying about what other people were thinking.
It was
Right?
different back then, right? With
Yeah.
our parents and our grandparents, because as immigrants, if you disturbed others outside of our race, there was problems. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, it wasn't always so free where like we can do whatever we want. It would lead to, racism, people hating on the Chinese, all this stuff. So that's why they're always like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Let's just look the other way, right? But now that we're out of that and everyone gets along, it's like we can really just enjoy the moments.
Yeah, I think we just have to get out of our heads and stop worrying so much. And I do try to do that. Like if we're starting to stress over stuff that's out of our control, or if the kids are just being kids without being obnoxious to other people,
Right.
or getting into trouble, then I'll be like, oh, it's okay. Just let them have their moment. It's fine. Like,
Well, that's the problem because, when they're hugging Mickey Mouse, we're taking a million photos. And by the time we're done taking the photos, because it takes so long to get a good picture of the kids,
right.
by that time you're like, oh, we were here for a long time. And then you didn't really get to enjoy the moment of just watching them hug Mickey Mouse and stuff. You're trying to capture for them so they have this moment forever. But I want to just like watch them do it and just, I don't know, be in the moment with them instead of being the parent taking pictures for them.
Yeah, I think that's that's become like a personal thing now because I feel like parents focus more on that now. So like even when the kids are at the end of their school year, right?
Yeah.
And they both have their shows, and usually I'll be the parent that's like holding up my phone and trying to record the whole thing for memories. But this year I was like, you know what? I'm okay. And I saw you. I'm like, well, he wants to record it. He's just going to record it. That's fine. And then the kids can watch it later. But I'm just going to put my phone down, try to capture some pictures. If there's cute moments within
Yeah.
the performance, then I'll record it. But yeah, this year I noticed not as many people had their phones up recording the
Yeah.
kids. And they're actually in the moment and enjoying it. And I felt like that just made me more present.
Well, one of the reasons why I recorded so much is because we're in the back.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really have a good, we're so far away. Let
Yeah.
me get a closer.
And I would look at your phone too because because she was so far away, I couldn't see the facial expression, so I'll look over at
Yeah.
yours. But I've just learned that I'd
Yeah.
rather be in the present moment than like stress out and not enjoy the moment at all, just trying to get that perfect picture.
I do catch myself doing that too. So when I'm recording the kids with their school shows, I'm like, okay, we'll enjoy it. Then I'll put my head to the side and I'll watch them while the phone now shifted off.
Yeah. I
And-
was doing that too.
And so, and I'll get to the point where I'm like, okay, I've recorded enough songs of them singing.
Yeah.
Let's stop and enjoy it. And then when I stop, it becomes like the cutest part of the whole show. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I just missed the whole thing. Now they're dancing. They're doing this cool stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, but at least you got to see it and enjoy it like for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's true. Well, and then the kids, when they come home, they also like to redo the performance,
Yep.
which is another cool thing.
Yep. I've already had them redo their performance like 2 to 3 times, and even in the car when I was taking them to school.
They're literally sweating by the time they're
Yep.
done doing it
Yeah.
with you.
So it's like, even though um you think you're gonna miss those moments like in those performances, like you'll get those moments again
Yeah.
when you're at home.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do with the kids?
My favorite thing to do with the kids. Um, I don't know. I have no idea.
I think there's little bits and pieces because they're still young. One thing is Enzo always likes to help me cook.
Mm,
So when I'm making, soups, he's like, I want to make the soup with you. And he starts throwing ingredients into the pot. And he likes
gotcha.
getting a spoon and he starts stirring it. He likes washing rice and making rice. And now they're cutting fruit. And I think like things like that is really cool. I enjoy doing those things and teaching them that because, I don't know. The best part about being a parent is when you teach your kids and then you watch them do it themselves after.
Yes.
The learning process is what I enjoy the most.
I think it's like learning new things with them, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah. So I don't have like one particular activity that I like to do, but it's like just being involved in things and seeing them thrive in it, like with karaoke or something, just seeing them
Yeah.
become so confident in their words, even if they're not saying the right words, and finding their voice and just like trying their best and stuff.
I like the karaoke part until they start going crazy on the
Yeah.
microphone.
Yep. Yep. And they
So,
start screaming and yelling and not singing anymore, and that's when you cut them off.
yeah, there's always something that just makes it like too much.
Yeah, they're just kids being kids, so.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we just always have to remember is that they're just being kids.
Yep.
Um, what's the best part about being a mom?
Best part about being a mom is just, I don't know, it's like seeing their faces, just seeing them all the time. Every little thing that they do, I'm always
I mean,
like,
that's the best.
"Aw."
That's the best part about having kids. But what's the best part about being a mom? Like for me, the best part about being a dad is when I get to go take them to places when I'm not with you, and I'm like, "Hey guys, let's go get some ice cream together," and we spend this little day or this hour to do something together. Like I like those moments.
Yeah.
It's like the bonding outside of the house with the kids.
You know what it is? I think I like bedtime with them, like whenever they come into the room. And I know that like we have the hardest time sleeping with them, and that we are constantly waking up through the night because they're kicking us or they're having nightmares and we get attacked in our sleep. But it's like just knowing that they're this small for so long and that I can be next to them and I can cuddle them and that they're comfortable enough to fall asleep in my arms and stuff like that, where I enjoy it. And then when they fall asleep, I'm like, oh, they're so cute,
Yeah.
And I'll like take pictures of them if they're sleeping in a cute way. And even though it does get stressful sometimes when they end up not sleeping, especially on a school night, and I have to like yell at them to sleep, but like once they actually fall asleep, I'm like, oh, I like this.
I like that too. It just gets too much when now there's four of us on a bed and they're kicking me and I'm waking up like every 20 minutes throughout the night.
Yeah, but now we've come up with a solution where we put sofa cushions on the floor and then we put their sleeping bags on top of it, and then I put another blanket on top of that so it cools them down and they have more cushion.
It's almost like a slumber party
It
now.
is pretty much, but we found a solution for that. But
I
yeah.
feel like we should try go camping with them. I think they would love camping.
Probably in a place that's not too hot.
Not too hot or too cold, because I can hear them now. Too cold, too cold.
True, but they could probably handle the cold more than the hot, I think.
Can they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so. All right. What is the best part about our kids?
I think just watching them grow up.
No. That's you as a mom.
What?
But what is the best part about our kids? Like, I think the best part about our kids is that they're really good kids. For the most part, they listen. They do everything very politely. when we go see people, they say hi, they give hugs. I think the best part is Leia gives everybody a hug.
Yeah. Is it,
You
is
know
it that they're very affectionate and loving and caring?
that they're caring.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Not so much of the affectionate part, depending on who it is. But I feel like they see it from us because whenever we greet people and we see people, we give people hugs and we say hi to everyone.
Yeah.
And I think they've learned to do that. Um, but the hard part is trying to get them to understand that you can't be like that with everyone. You can only give kisses to people that are very close to us, right? Or that we're
Right.
okay with.
Right now, I enjoy seeing Leia be a big sister to Enzo. Like she's becoming this person that's like, oh, Enzo, and she'll go up to him and she'll like put her hands on his cheeks and be like, Enzo, you're so cute.
Yeah.
Or like she'll try to take care of him, get him his milk.
Give them kisses on the cheek all the time.
Yeah. I love that. And then there's the parts where she's all like, no, get away. I don't want to play with you.
Oh my gosh. And then when she like pushes him or gets defensive and crazy.
Right. And then like 2 minutes later, they're like best friends again.
Yep. I think that's just the brother sister dynamic.
I think the best part about having kids is that we have two kids who are so close in age that are like best friends.
And that's why
And
we decided to have two.
I love watching the dynamic of them both, and I think that's the best part, having two little kids run around. Is there anything that you would change?
If there was something that I would have liked to change, maybe it's probably having kids earlier so that I
Having
would have
kids earlier?
Yeah, like I wish that we had them at a younger age just because I would have had more energy and maybe would have been more adventurous because I feel like over time I've become like more scared of things like when it comes to like roller coasters or like maybe even watching scary movies.
You
Like
don't like roller coasters anymore?
I mean, I do, but at the same time, I think if we had to choose between two of us, since only like Leia can go, I'm like, oh, I can go. I'm okay. Because my heart races like a lot faster than it used to.
Yeah, definitely like rides like Six Flags, Magic Mountain.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to those anymore.
Yeah, or if we're like in the heat, and I think heat has always like been a huge factor for me when I'm outside or doing stuff. Like you've seen me, like my energy levels drop like crazy when it's hot.
All three of you can't function.
We cannot function in the heat, yeah. But when I was younger, it wasn't as bad. But at the same time, I feel like this is a result of having kids. And if we were to have had kids at a younger age, like we wouldn't have had a Leia and Enzo. Like our timeline and dynamic and family would have been completely different than what we have.
It's funny because when I was young, I always said I wanted to have kids early.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to have the energy to play with them.
Right.
Because by the time we are older, we still have energy to play with them as they are older too.
Yeah.
Right. So like being able to keep up with them when they're in their 10s. Right.
And I guess going back to that too, because I'm like, oh, because I'm older now, right? Because I'm like, oh, I wish, they would be able to jump on my back and I'll be able to like carry them and like give them piggyback rides and stuff like that without my back hurting. But I have scoliosis. I've always had back problems since I was a kid. And as a result of also giving birth, whether or not we had them like years ago, I think I would still have these back problems.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't even have mattered. But maybe I would be able to handle the injuries more easily.
Yeah. So it's funny because, like I said, when I was younger, I wanted the kids when we were young. But as we have kids now, I tell everybody, wait as long as you can.
Yeah.
Because even though if you have the energy to keep up with the kids, at the same time, I'm like, I'd rather prolong everything as much as I can now. And not have to go through that type of stress.
Yeah, so I guess there's nothing about having them that I would change because I like how things are and the dynamic with them right now.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't change anything. I love the timeline of when we had kids, right? We waited like 5 years until we had kids. We got things done when we needed to. Obviously, it's just never going to end. But there's just I don't regret having kids. I love everything about them, and
I always knew I wanted kids, so yeah,
yeah,
no regrets.
What is one thing that you would never change?
Uh,
What we have for sure. What we
yeah,
have for sure is something I would never change.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But
pretty much.
um, is there something about the kids you would never want to change or yourself?
I mean, I wouldn't want to change anything about them. Like they
Yeah.
are, we created them and we're molding them to what they are. And when they have their good moments and bad moments, it's a result of our parenting and also them just being kids, you
Yeah.
know? So I try to take it with a grain of salt and yeah.
So even though we talked about the worst things about the kids, what we hate the most about having kids, at the end of the day, there's nothing that I would change
Yep.
because all that all the bad stuff is like very, very little, and all the things you love about the kids is so much.
Yep. And when you have kids, you kind of have to prepare yourself just knowing that you have to dedicate your most of your life to them and make sure that you're responsible for them and you're willing to sacrifice all the things that you've had before to be able to like raise good kids.
But you get to enjoy it, right?
Yeah,
You enjoy
yeah.
the process. So,
Yeah.
for example, I get what you're saying. It's like you give up your whole time to take them to school and then take them to jujitsu, take them to swimming classes. But while they're at jujitsu, I love every moment of watching them, right? Learning all these new submission moves and taking people down and seeing their progress. Because now Enzo, he's 4, right? He started when he was 3.5.
Yeah.
And you could tell that, a few months back, he was doing drills like he was a baby.
Yep.
And now he's taking kids down like he's a man, and like,
He's gotten a lot serious.
right. And enjoying that process is awesome. So even though there's so much responsibilities of taking them to these places and things, and you now don't have the time for yourself,
Yeah.
it's really accepting that and enjoying the moments watching them do
Yep.
whatever it is
Yep.
activity.
You can't regret those moments. You can't regret having kids because that's just, they're a part of your life now.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
The thing that gets me going is that when I watch Enzo when I watch him do jiu-jitsu and I see the progress, I'm like, damn, what is this kid gonna be like when he's in 10 more years?
Yeah.
He's gonna be a monster.
That's why you keep investing in your kids and you hope for the better for them and you see them kick ass.
Yeah, I love it, guys. Um, I love our kids. I love my wife. I love our family. It's the best thing ever. The dynamic is great, and so if you guys want to have kids, there's always gonna be the best and the worst parts, but the best is really good.
There's more pros than cons. Yep.
Definitely. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Love and Rice podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify. Rate us on there. Give us 5 stars. There's also polls that I put there many times so you can vote on the polls. And also, we're on the other platforms, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Amazon, TikTok, and Instagram. So please support us through all the platforms, and we'll catch you guys next time on the next episode of Love and Rice.